Okay, I think we're live. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the 5th edition of RAMOLA Reports. I'm so glad to be here today with Seven of Solutionaries Media Network. Seven is a new media producer, musician, and a concept innovator. And she's a rather extraordinary person who has many, many accomplishments to her credit. Most recently, she has also come into the limelight because of an extraordinary court case that she won against several high-profile media criminals who are truly criminals in high places. This particular settlement ran into the literally trillions of dollars, and it had to do with intellectual property theft for some incredible television shows and shows of various kinds that belong to Seven in terms of concept and creation, but which was stolen from her and ultimately were used on well, not the big screen, I guess, the television screen, all over the world. Shows like Dancing with the Stars and various others. I'm sure she can fill us in just a minute. So Seven's story has been followed in great detail by Alfred Lambermont Weber on his channel newsinsideout.com. So please do go. Sorry? Go ahead, Seven. Welcome.
Greetings, everybody. Greetings, Renola. I was just basically helping you out there.
Go ahead.
This channel is called newsinsideout.com. And if you want to see about my case, if you want to read about my case, I should say, newsinsideout/7gate. So newsinsideout.com/7gate. And then you'll see the interview series that I have done with him. And more recently, he published my call to action, my emergency call to action, which has been running for a few months now. But I think it's basically the beginning, probably the end of May, early June was my call to action.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay, now that sounds vastly interesting, and I'm wondering if that's something we should go into, but perhaps that's an issue for a separate podcast. We'll certainly go into that in detail. Yes, absolutely. So yes, please do visit newsinsideout.com and /7gate for more information on Seven's case. And 7gate in itself is a vastly interesting subject and something we will indeed explore further. Because ever since that court case occurred and that settlement never came through, Seven has become and has been a targeted individual, much like many others around the world who are being targeted by criminals in high places with electromagnetic weapons and with non-stop surveillance. And Seven also has been at the center in many ways of many false flag attacks that have been playing out in London, around London, and also in Europe, parts of Europe, and also in the US. There's all sorts of connections with 7gate, and certainly that's an issue and a subject we will explore further at some point. So welcome, Seven, and today we are going to be talking about the Grenfell Tower fire and its connections and Seven's assessment to this organized crime ring that is also behind her own court case and the whole specter of Satanism that unfortunately all of us have to look at when we look at the state of organized crime today in the world. Grenfell Tower, the whole fire has a particular poignance for Seven because tragically she lost family in the fire, an aunt and a cousin. And so Seven, if you don't mind, we can start right there. Please do tell us a little bit more because I understand just recently more information came out about your aunt. Is that right?
Right. Thank you, Ramola. I heard what I suspected 2 days ago, officially announced by Scotland Yard that my aunt, Marjorie Vital, has been formally pronounced dead in the Grenfell Inferno. And if you like, I can share an image so that everybody can see who my
Oh,
aunt
yes,
was?
absolutely. Please do. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, so I'm going to
You,
go into screen share.
yeah, you
Just one
just,
sec.
sure. Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay, so let's see if I can screen share. Okay, so all right, so let's see. Can you see that, Ramola?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Okay, so this article is about my aunt, which was published. It was updated just 2 days ago. And it says at the top here, you can see Grenfell Tower victim named Marjorie Vital was as devastated family paid tribute to a beautiful woman who was prematurely and dramatically, I imagine it says, this world, murdered from
Mm-hmm.
this world. So we can see the header there, and then you'll see a picture of my aunt. There she is.
Mm-hmm.
And
She looks
interestingly enough,
beautiful.
in this top story in mainstream media, although they have not mentioned me at all, and they have not mentioned my connections to the crime ring that we've found clear linkages to this atrocity and many others. And I personally believe that them flagging up my aunt's image all the time, and if you look, you see there's a direct resemblance, family resemblance. Um, I actually think a lot of it is sort of mocking. One of the things we know that is done is that crime rings carry out atrocities. They put them in plain sight in the media, and it's all part of Operation Mockingbird. I'm going to show you some other things with my aunt. Let me just go back into the file. I want to show you that recently, with the whole Grenfell thing, they've brought in the 9/11 investigations team. Now I'm trying to find there is a news article whereby they single out my aunt. Out of all the victims, they actually single out my aunt. I'm not sure where it is on here. I'm just trying to find the recent documents. Okay, I'll have to go into something else. Okay, so for now, I'll close it down, but I'll find it, and then in the course of
Okay,
the
sure.
conversation.
Yeah.
So I'm going to stop sharing the screen now, and I'll
Okay.
shut this. So you should see me again.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Was it one of the newspaper articles that you had sent me earlier?
Oh,
It
yes.
was.
You have the one that I showed you with the 9/11 investigations team have been
Yes.
called in the US to identify the remains of the victims of Grenfell Tower. Now, I just want to say that is subliminally or obviously letting people know that this was a terrorist attack, just a accident. Accidents we know don't look like that. It's
Mm-hmm.
an impossibility to make a building do that unless
Mm-mm.
you scientifically happen. It takes a great deal of practical application and professional engineering to create a fire, an inferno on that scale. And so I know for a fact that that was not an accident. The
Mm-hmm.
whole thing about Grenfell Tower, it was a murder, a mass murder of mammoth proportions. Innocent people have been massacred in the most horrific, horrendous way possible.
Mm-hmm.
And I find it absolutely disgusting that they are trying to pull the wool over people's eyes to make it appear that this was started by a fridge.
Mm-hmm.
It's
Yeah.
impossible. It's impossible. Besides the evidence,
Mm-hmm.
just looking at common sense, everybody knows that there is no way on earth that one little fridge can create that situation, even though factually we know that the fire brigade went in, called onto the fourth floor. They looked at the fridge. If there was any fire there, that it was put out, there was nothing going on. And they was returning back to the fire station when they received a call saying the fire's on the outside. So basically the fire, it was engineered to make it look like it started from a fridge, but actually it was being engineered on the outside. Now we know 2 days before, residents were visited from the fire brigade and told to stay, if there is a fire, stay inside your property. That's what the residents were told. And even during the fire, when residents were trying to come out, they were told to go back to their flats.
Correct. That's exactly what I've read, and that's what all the news reports say. They were told to go back in.
Go back and wait inside their flats. In other words, stay in there so that we can kill you. That's basically what happened.
That seems to run counter to pretty much any kind of common sense understanding of what one does during a fire. And this is why we have fire drills all the time. So people get used to the idea of evacuating buildings, right?
Right, absolutely. And actually, there's also lots of the reports that I've got, because I've gathered, as you can imagine, under the circumstances, I've gathered a great deal of evidence to look into what happened. What happened to my aunt, what happened to everybody in the building. And obviously when I suspected that the linkages to the crime ring in my case, I actually, because there's one thing being able to presume something, and there's another thing having evidence to be able to back up what you state. And as somebody who's spent many years doing law, evidence is always number one. So I had to go about looking for evidence in order to see what were the linkages between my case, the Sevengate case, and actually what transpired in Grenfell Tower. But I wanted you to show the audience, if you have it available, the actual article that was released, because it's been flagged up to me by a number of people that called me up.
Yeah, if you give me a few minutes, I could probably find the link. But yes, why don't I just continue to look for the link?
I might be able to find it as well. If I go on to, because it was sent to me, I'm not sure. If I click onto my email, am I still here with you, or does it?
Oh no, you're still here, as long as if we're not sharing screens, we can actually see each other, and everything is continuing just as if we're not doing anything on our computers. So
okay, all right, okay. What I'm trying to do right now, I've got the link available. I just need to get it. I just want to go back to. Just bear with me 1 second. I'm actually
sure, absolutely, yeah.
That was sent to me. Okay, I had an email sent that was flagging up the fact that my aunt, they found it very, very strange that my aunt was being singled out in all the victims. They mentioned that they called in the 9/11 investigations team. Perhaps I should go into.
What was your aunt's name?
Where I'm going to find
Marjorie Vital, right? Yeah.
Yes.
If we just run a search on her name, we'll find it right away.
Yes, it's actually in the Independent newspaper.
Oh, it's in the Independent.
Because I don't
that should show up then right away. If we.
But I'm not sure whether or not they would have taken it down. So I want to get the original one before, just to make sure, because what I notice is a lot of things are being altered. Like they've altered the fact that my aunt lived on the 16th floor.
Oh, that.
My aunt lives on the 19th floor. And it's like, okay, so I found it.
Oh, you found it. Oh, good. Oh, good. Yeah, my computer's slowing down hugely for some reason. I see the Sun article on my website, and I'm trying to pull up the Independent. But if you found it, go ahead and share your screen.
I've
then,
got it here, so I'm going to go now.
Mhm.
Yes. If I can, where did it open?
So it's back to that
Right.
little green icon. Yeah.
Can you see? I'm sharing. Can you still see me?
I can still see you
Let's see.
because you kind of have to click a double button. There's another
These
one that
people
says start
get
sharing.
used to. Can
Okay, now I can see your
Can you
screen.
see this?
Yes, it flashed on. So I'll stop
By
talking so you can
U.S.
come back to
experts
your
on
screen.
9/11.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you look at this independent article, which is 4 days ago by Gemma Crew and Ryan Hooper, it actually shows Grenfell Tower fire. U.S. experts on 9/11 terror attack called in to aid police investigation. Scale of the disaster means help needed to sift through 15 tons of rubble and debris across each of the incinerated high-rises, 24 flats. Now, it's interesting that they use that word high-rise because I want to connect it to something else. Now, the other thing I want to connect it to is Dark Tower movie. Now, if you look at this, what's left of the Grenfell building is a dark tower, right? And bear that in mind because I'm going to bring you some evidence about that. Now, it says experts from 9/11 terror attack have been brought in to help provide specialist knowledge to the police investigation into Grenfell Tower. Now, what's interesting is you will see, where does it say my aunt's name? I'm just looking for it. It says here, if you look here, it came as
Oh, right.
Scotland Yard confirmed latest victims as 68-year-old Marjorie Vital. So at least 80 people are thought to have died in the devastating fire in North Kensington on 14th of June. Now, they don't name any other victim.
Right, and
They
that
just
number
name
is
my
still
aunt. If you go
right, and
through
that
this whole article to see if anybody else has been up, and they don't flag anybody else up.
that's
So
so
that's
interesting. And
particularly interesting. Her photograph was featured as well, other people have said, but they backed down since because they don't obviously want people to connect the dots to my aunt's relative, me, being a person who has been the number one victim of terrorism, and also not just victim of terrorism, but as targeting and the person who's exposing, the number one person exposing this crime ring on the scale that I have for the last 14 years. So it's interesting that I have been exposing false flag terror. And now they flag up my aunt as a victim of the Grenfell Tower. But the interesting thing is to pay attention to the word terror attack, because Grenfell Tower undoubtedly was a terrorist attack. It was a satanic terrorist attack. Like all the other attacks, such as 7/7, Charlie Hebdo, they were staged false flags, but they were staged by a satanic terrorist crime ring, which we now refer to as Seven Gate. And we're going to get more into that a little bit later. But this was the article anyway that I wanted to flag up for you. And also to pay very close attention to the Dark Tower. Into the movie, which is about to be released in August, called Dark Tower. And the main character of that movie is called Lord Grenfell. So you tell me, what are the possibilities that there would be a movie in production called, there's two movies, there's High Rise, which shows an inferno, and I want to show people evidence of that. Should I do it now, Ramola, or while I'm talking
absolutely.
about it, or should we come back to it?
We can come back to it if you want to come back to your.
Absolutely. Should I show the evidence now of Dark Tower?
Whatever you feel most comfortable doing, Sib, and if you feel like
I just because what we're left with.
Yes.
Okay, well,
I'm hearing a bit of
What
an
I
echo.
will
I'm
do,
wondering.
I'm going to try to see if I can open up. Sorry, people. I'm sorry. Can you hear me clearly
So
now?
it's quite, yes, I can hear you.
Can you hear
Absolutely. Yeah,
me?
go ahead. I can hear you, Seven. Can you hear me?
Okay, so I, I can. I can. I'm going
Okay,
to
I can
try to
hear
show
you.
you some evidence. Okay,
Wonderful.
well, just
Yeah.
bear with me. I'm just going to try to open up
Yeah, take
some
your time. I
some
just wanted
documents.
to make one comment because it seems that it's far too much of a coincidence, as you pointed out, with what's happened at Grenfell Tower with this incredible tragedy and the burning of all of those floors down and the people inside. And this movie coming out called Dark Tower with a character in it
Yes,
called Lord Grenfell. That's kind of mind-blowing.
yes, and it's typical of Operation Mockingbird. If you understand what the whole Operation
Yes,
Mockingbird
it's
is about,
yes,
and
and it's typical of this kind of surreptitious covert signaling that the crime cartel appears to engage in.
right now, can you see this, Ramola?
Yes.
I'm opening a document which basically shows you the image of high rise.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you
Yes.
can see that, and you can see the tower burning.
Yes. And
Okay, so
high
that's a
rise, can
movie.
you
Sorry?
go ahead and introduce it? It's a movie that's based on a book, right?
Yes, it's based on a book, but it's also a movie called High Rise
Mm-hmm.
that came out last year. And as you can
Mm-hmm.
see, there is a tower that is burning on the same scale as
Mm-hmm.
the Grenfell fire, Inferno. It's a, if you look at the fire, you can see an inferno. It's not just a fire in a flat. It's an actual inferno. And
Absolutely.
this is very typical and consistent of what is being done. You're seeing high level crimes being perpetrated, and um, at the same time, we have the same scenario playing out in films and TV shows within the mainstream media. So you have to ask yourself, what is going on here? How is it that there are movies in production depicting the exact same events at the same time when there is these tragedies going on, these
Mm-hmm.
horrific situations where real people are being killed? You have to ask
Mm-hmm.
yourself, what is going on here? And what we're seeing is a ritualistic practice that has been going on for a very long time. People that engineer these atrocities. And so I want to show you a little bit more. So that's one.
Mm-hmm.
And I will show you also, there's some key things about that.
Mm-hmm.
This image here, which was uploaded, can you see that? Okay, Ramola?
Yes, I can. Yes. It's the cover of that book, right?
Oh, right. So this image before the high rise. No. Okay, so it's the same image prior to it burning down. Now, if you look, you will see clearly there is a section, this building, which has been deleted.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm wondering if this is the section that was designated to start the fire. Because
Yeah.
remember, they said the fire started on the 4th floor. And obviously, it burnt within 8 minutes. It reached the top. That's an impossibility. You would
Yeah.
have to have engineered that situation for that to take place. Now,
Mm-hmm.
what you need to pay very close attention to, that this was uploaded on the 25th of May, 2017. So 25th again, we have the 7. So about the 7-gate crime ring, which is why they're called the 7-gate crime ring. They always code, they put in 7. For instance, 7/7 bombings, Charlie Hebdo. Hebdo actually means 7 days, so it was Charlie 7. Then we have London Bridge, 7 killed. We have Orlando, 7 survived. We have recently King's Cross, which 7, it was in 7 Sisters. So there's been a lot of reference to 7. So when we notice here, we have the 25th of May, 2017. Sorry, there's a phone going off.
That's all right.
1 second, Ramola. I just need
go
to
ahead.
get this.
Yeah.
1 second.
That's all right. Take your time. I'm just looking at this extraordinary image, and that in itself is kind of interesting by itself, with those floors removed. And there's also the other image, I think, on the cover of the audiobook, was it, which had the Inferno on the tower, very reminiscent of the actual Grenfell Tower fire. So rather extraordinary similarities there. So there we go. Oh,
I'm sorry.
That's all right.
Someone's just
yeah.
Hospital. One of my family members has just gone to hospital.
Oh dear.
God.
Oh no, I'm so sorry.
Yeah, hopefully it will be all right. So yes, I was just saying the 25th of May, 2017, we see that this was actually added to it's actually Wikipedia I got this from, okay? And we know that Wikipedia is controlled by the 7 Gate crime ring as well. And so that's why you see sometimes with false flags, for instance, the Paris attacks, 2 days before, you'll see the entry was in Wikipedia.
Oh my, yes, several anomalies like that. Yeah, with each false flag.
Because they actually want people to know. It's part of the ritual, you know, it's part of the thrill as well. Almost being caught, you know, but they don't quite want to be caught, but at the same time, they want to put it on the edge like that. So they give you tons of clues, recognize what they're doing. So in this particular image, as I said, the key thing to pay attention to was the floors where there has been things deleted. 1 second, I have to go back and get the call again. Sorry about this.
That's all right. Yeah. Quite extraordinary, those pictures over there. So in case people don't really know anything about some of the aftermath of the Grenfell Tower fire and some of the details that are coming out, I covered this story a little bit last month. So if you go to my website, everydayconcerned.net, and just type in Grenfell Tower in the search box, you will find the articles which provide some coverage there. And all I was doing really was following the coverage in London and also trying to show what people on the ground were reporting, which was a little bit different from what was being reported in the big English newspapers, such as The Guardian and The Independent and so forth, and definitely different from what the BBC was reporting. And as we speak with Seven a little further, I think we are going to also explore a little bit about what the BBC does and how the BBC is in fact involved, as she says, in this crime ring, the 7 Gate crime ring, and how the signaling that she's talking about is often put out by the BBC. So that's just something to look up. There is a lot of information now on YouTube. There's lots of videos, a lot of citizen journalists still talking about the Grenfell Tower fire and also talking to people on the ground and trying to lay out what exactly is going on right now. I understand the council, the Kensington-Chelsea Council, had tried to hold meetings, but the council head has resigned. And I'm not entirely certain what the status is, but I will speak to Seven about that shortly as to what exactly is going on. I know people, they were trying to relocate people and move people out of the area. And there's all sorts of questions about that because we're talking about a very wealthy part of London. So Seven, I was just talking talking about the various aspects
Okay.
of the fire and about what's going on the ground in
Right,
Canada.
okay, so I'm going to close this down. We can come back to it afterwards because there's lots of information to share with people. So I'm
Okay.
going to sharing for a minute and come back to you.
Okay.
Let's just shut this down.
So I was just directing people to my website where I'd, written a couple articles about it based on your information, and
Right,
also directing them to YouTube because there are a lot of people still putting out videos, right?
right. There is a lot of people putting out videos. I'm just trying to find you still. I'm not sure where it's gone.
Oh, you can't
Okay,
quite
I
see me.
found you.
Okay.
Okay, right. So I'm back on. Yes, there's so much. Yesterday, I actually did a talk for it's GRENFELL United, and it's basically where all the different groups. It's been set up to amalgamate because there are various different groups on the ground.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Do you mean like activist groups
that
trying
are,
to work for the people?
basically this is to do with the public inquiry, because I think a lot of people recognize that the public inquiry that has been set up, unfortunately, there is no confidence in, based on historical evidence from Hillsborough, and, there is another fire in London.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's about 30 years ago now, in a place called Deptford, New Cross, where 13 people died and nothing has been done about it ever.
Oh dear.
And there were people from the melanated community, the black community,
Mm-hmm.
and brought no results, no justice, and was perpetrated under suspicious circumstances. And I think just generally, people recognize that the truth is never going to be told because of the people who perpetrated this. The truth won't be told. They will be, all questions, because I've watched a number of set up by the council since, where
Mm-hmm.
residents have been allowed access to put questions to the police and also to the actual council members.
Mm-hmm.
And what you get is basically, we can't answer that right now. We can't answer that right now. Basically, they're either going to be lied to
Mm-hmm.
or told we cannot answer that, which is to evade all responsibility and all accountability. Or they're basically going to be given a pack of lies. That there is no other thing to expect from this. How is it possible that you can expect anything from people who have perpetrated this? It's impossible. They're not going to admit what they've done
Mm-hmm.
because they know the ramifications of doing such a thing. So they're not going to admit it. They're not going to really care about any of the people that they've done this to, because it was premeditated. They intended to do this. This was mass murder. This was an act of terrorism. Now, anytime you hear anybody talking about corporate manslaughter,
Mm-hmm.
or, anything to do with negligence,
Mm-hmm.
and making it appear that there was some form of incompetence involved in this, you know that person is either on the payroll with the cover-up exercise, or that person is part of the crime network. Those are the two things to expect. I mean, obviously, there are some people that don't have an idea of law, so they're just regurgitating what they've heard other people say.
Mm-hmm.
And so they all cite, oh, it's corporate manslaughter.
Mm-hmm. Well,
We're
there's been a
talking
lot.
about a mass murder.
Mm-hmm.
Sorry?
I was just going to say that there's been a lot of reports, and in fact, this is what's coming out now in the so-called quote-unquote official channels, such as the BBC, that it all has to do with the cladding, And it has to do with incompetence and negligence, as you say, the
Right.
fact that there were no sprinklers in that building. There's only one staircase in that building going right up to the top, and yet no sprinklers for 24 floors. And they had these archaic rules about staying in your flat when there's a fire, even up to those
Right.
24 floors. And then
Right.
the other thing was this cladding was flammable cladding when
Right.
and it was put up there as to sort of because the whole building was a bit of an eyesore and they wanted to pretty up the facade because we're talking about a very wealthy part of London, right? So they
Mm.
wanted to pretty up the facade for the rest of the residents, the wealthy residents in Kensington and Chelsea, right? So all
Right.
of these speculations are what you hear repeated in the news reports and also
Right.
on the ground, I think, among some activists. So your perspective is rather unique in that you go straight for the jugular and you say, no, there's much more to this than meets the eye. All sorts of circumstances have led to this
Right.
moment, and all sorts of signaling has led to this moment. And therefore, it's
Right.
undeniable that there are connections to intentionality here and to deliberate
Right.
crime, a deliberate act of terrorism. And so that's really something that I really would like to hear more about, how exactly you
Okay.
come to those conclusions and so forth.
Right. Okay. So first of all, I want to take you back before we get into all the technical stuff, including things like the cladding being switched from zinc cladding without, the residents actually choosing zinc cladding, which is fire retardant cladding,
Mm-hmm.
and it being switched at the last moment deliberately. Besides all of that technical stuff, I want to take you back to 2 days before the fire, which was on the Sunday, when I emailed you, as well as Tony Farrell and Alfred Weber and a number of other people here in London, to flag up that there was going to be an event. Remember, now that
Yes.
basically what had happened, because this ties into understanding Operation Mockingbird. And for people who don't understand what that is, it's basically a scam whereby they run and control the media. But when I say CIA, we're talking internationally. This crime ring, Seven Gate crime ring, some of you may refer to the crime ring Seven Gate as Illuminati. Some of you will refer to the crime ring as Zionists. Some of you will refer to the same crime ring as Deep State. Some of you will refer to the crime ring as the
Nazi.
shadow government.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so just to give people an idea, when I say Seven Gate, who I'm actually talking about, so that there is a very clear understanding of what Seven Gate is. Seven Gate is basically a criminal network which has a hierarchical structure. It's a pyramid structure. So in terms of Seven Gate, we're talking about the key ringleaders who were involved in my case. Now, obviously, you've got if you think of a pyramid structure, we're talking a very small part of the pyramid being at the top, and it gets wider and wider. And so you have people on the lower levels. And so when you talk about Kensington and Chelsea and the management company for the building, KCTMO, they are on the lower levels, but nevertheless, they're part of this crime ring. So they all work in conjunction. So if you imagine it's an octopus that have different legs in different areas. So these different areas encompass the mainstream media, entertainment, Hollywood, the intelligence agencies, the judiciary, the police keeping forces. So we're talking about rogue factions, because I'm not saying that all of the people that work in those areas are all rogue, but there are key people within this crime ring that control the entire mainstream media from the
Mm-hmm.
higher levels. So they control what people see in movies, what gets embedded into movies. They control what gets put out into the press. They control everything.
Mm-hmm.
So when they're going to commit an atrocity, they will embed it because it's part of a satanic ritual. The higher you get up the structure, the more evil and satanic it becomes. And that's how it gets played out. And I'm telling you this so that you will understand how I understood that something was about to take place. Now, on the Sunday, which was the 12th, in fact, I'm going to rewind a little bit further back. I had put out a call to action and basically had done an interview with Paul Marco on the 31st of May, which you've watched.
Yes.
Okay. And I have been campaigning for the last 14 years, besides my case, to shut this satanic criminal network down. And as I said, it's an international criminal network. And I've taken proceedings, I won my court proceedings, and I've been doing everything to put out a call to action to get people to get behind the effort to shut the crime ring down. Paul Marco, on the 31st of May this year, actually interviewed me about that call to action. And anybody who wants to watch that, they can go on to my YouTube channel, which is Solutionaries Media Network. And that's SOULUTIONRIES, Solutionaries, SOULUTIONARIES Media Network, and that's YouTube. If you go onto there and you will see
I'll put the link below after the
31st of May that I had put out a call to action. In a response, one of the crime ring members, who is called Richard Hanna, actually went on to Alfred Weber's page and he wrote a whole lot of stuff saying that I was a liar. And that to be honest, I didn't even read it. I just responded by putting my courtroom audios and putting my evidence. Alfred had contacted me. This is early June. Alfred had contacted me, Alfred Weber, and you can go on and to Alfred Weber's YouTube channel. And if you put /7gate, you can watch the video interview series. We did about 10 interviews in total. And it's very detailed into this crime ring. I started the interview series in December 2014, January 2015, and it went on most of the 2015 year. We basically got up to about 10 episodes. So you can watch that and it will give you a really good idea of who this crime ring are and how they were involved in my case, some of the horrors that I've personally experienced. Now, in my experiences, I've learnt how they play out their crimes and how they code their crimes inside TV shows. Now, as I said, in basically early June, Alfred Weber contacted me and said, "Seven, I've received a comment on my forum by Richard J. Hanna, who's a key ringleader in the 7-Gate crime ring, who is ex-military, who actually openly says that he works for the shadow government. He says the government, but it is the shadow government. And they control the whole of the government. They control the whole of the mainstream media. They control the whole of the judiciary. So bear that in mind when I tell you what I'm about to tell you." Now, this man has an alias, and I want to show you his email. I'm not sure if I should do it right now, but anyway, when I actually met this crime ring, in fact, I want to show you his email because it's very, very, very key to understanding how I knew what was going to take place. I didn't actually know it was going to take place on the day it was scheduled, but I knew that something was imminent. And I'll show you the email that began my nightmare with these people. So let me just go and find it now. just a minute. I want to pull it up,
Sure,
and then I'll.
absolutely. Yeah, it's
See.
I think it would indeed help us see the connection, because that
Yes.
email from a long time ago, right, helped
Yes. Well, it was the
helped bring
beginning.
out a lot of information.
Yes, it was the beginning of what has transpired in real time. And it's the beginning of a 14-year nightmare, being stalked, excessively stalked, terrorized, tortured, and watching innocent people become murdered. So, okay, so I have the email now.
Okay.
So what I'm going to do is bring it up for you.
Okay.
Now, I'm not sure how to do this.
Oh,
1 second.
do you want to just
Oh,
share
okay,
screens again?
I figured it out.
Yeah.
Okay. So we're going to put this one down, and I'm going to share the screen. Okay. So, right. So I'm now sharing the screen, and I just have to go back to where I was with the, where is it gone? See this?
Yes.
You can see the email.
Yes, it's kind of tiny though. Maybe
Yeah, I can make
enlarge.
it bigger. Hopefully. Okay, yes. So
There we go.
fortunately.
Yeah, it's readable now.
Yes, so I'm going to bring it down first so that you can read the red light. Can you see the red writing here?
I can. Yes. Yeah.
You can.
I can. Yeah.
So it says proof of evil psychopath Richard Hanna's sinister email to Seven, plotting to unleash hell and murder innocent members of the public in vengeance with Helen Alexander, exactly as they have carried out terrorizing and staging false flags. So, okay, so we're going to go an email, as you can see, from Richard Hanna, which I was CC'd into, and I didn't see it until after the meeting that I attended with these extremely, extremely unwell people. And that's me being moderate, because, you know, I'm trying to hold my tongue, facts, without being too emotional, because I do get extremely angry by what has transpired. So I'm going to be logical and clear and concise so that I can convey the facts to you all, and that you can take this evidence and see that it's shut down as quickly as possible so that these type of atrocities are stopped. Okay, so this man, Richard Hanna, on the 31st of October 2003, sends an email to this man, Tony Ullman, Suzanne Hills, and then CC to me, it says Charles V11, which is actually Charles 7, which is me. And the subject of the email is, on my command, unleash sales hell. Okay. Now, I did not realize that, first of all, I was dealing with a monster and a psychopath on the level that we have all since witnessed. Obviously, you don't know about this man, but you felt the impact of his insanity. All of you have felt it in one way or another. Now, this email says, my name is Maximus. Now, that's key. TV program selling us. Husband of a murdered career. Father of a murdered brainchild. I will have my vengeance in this live event or the next. Tells me, he says, Loston, if you don't. So basically, this man, what you can see from here is that this man lives his life through TV shows. He makes statements via TV shows, within TV shows. He lives his life through TV shows, this man. And what you're seeing here is an invitation to me. It says that I should attend a meeting with him to meet on, which was to happen at Feltham Studios, 1:30 p.m. Tuesday on the 11th of November. And it had directions attached. And basically to share my format ideas with Helen Alexander, head of factual broadcasting. Now that is key. Helen Alexander, now Dame Helen Alexander of SMG, which was Scottish Media Groups PLC, was the head of factual broadcasting. Being invited to that particular meeting in order to meet this Helen Alexander to share my works with. So let's have a look at who Helen Alexander is. That's Helen Alexander. Woman is also running, she's head of intelligence units. She's the first ever chief, the 7th woman in Southampton University, where she was inaugurated, which I presume she paid for, because most of them, when they get to a high level in terms of the becoming criminal elite, they always take on titles, which I presume they pay for, because there's lots of evidence to say that they actually pay for titles like Dame, Sir, etc., to immune themselves from prosecution.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so I want to just show you a few things, Ramola, before I come back to you. Is that okay?
Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead.
To give people go ahead. Okay, so this is, again, I'm going to show you something else that is very important to see about Hannah, because one of the things that he does is he uses different identities. When we were to attend the meeting in Feltham Studios, he actually sent this image, which is about to come up, of this man, which is a Lord Mayor. He pretended to be this man. Okay? Now it says, proof and evidence that evil psychopath Richard Hannah fraudulently used the identity of an unknown man to lure us to the business meeting about Seven's creations by deception. So
Seven, can you hear me? Because I think your audio just kind of froze at this end. And the video that I'm seeing it's kind of frozen on that still. All right, I think we may just have lost Seven. I'm going to send her a quick email and ask her to come back in. So let me do that. I'm sure she knows to come back in. But I'll send her the link again. So, as you can tell, we are speaking of stuff that's apparently off the charts incendiary to some people. Let me find the link and invite her once again. All sorts of things happen on these podcasts because, unfortunately, the stuff that we're talking about is very important and information that everybody should have. And for those very reasons, we're constantly bumped off. Unfortunately, we're doing Google Hangouts, so you can imagine Google Hangouts run by the CIA and the NSA. So I guess this is what we have to expect when we're working with Google Hangouts. There's Google's allegiances for you. So I have sent that to Seven, and I'll wait a little while and hope that she will come back. We're close to an hour. So I'm thinking at this point that if she comes back, we'll go on for just a little bit longer and maybe close the show around the 1 hour or a little bit after mark. And we can pick up the conversation with Seven in a second part, a sequel to this conversation shortly. So I have not heard from Seven yet. but she may just come back. Let's see if she will. So it's interesting that at this point, Seven had been going into the story behind her own court case and was going into some of the scenario behind the theft of her intellectual property. The particular media group, Scottish media group that she was talking about, is the group with whom she had consulted and to whom she had shown all of her ideas and plans and formulations for upcoming television shows. And all of that information was ultimately stolen from her and used without her permission and without her participation, and to her financial detriment as well, because she certainly never saw any money from those shows heading her way. And, ultimately she took them to court, she won the court case, and she got targeted. It's a rather dramatic and a rather tragic court case, because the judge in the court case who ruled and who found her evidence very convincing, and in fact made comments to the extent that he had never seen such extraordinary evidence from somebody who was arguing pro se by themselves. That judge died or was killed shortly after. And ever since that court case, Seven was targeted. So this is all part of the unfortunate scenario that unfolds apparently whenever anyone brushes up against this crime cartel, which is the same crime cartel within that same pyramid of action, as she pointed out earlier, operating in all cases of organized crime, child trafficking, human trafficking, global surveillance, global neuroweapon assault that's being reported widely, etc. And is also the same pyramid that Dr. Horton has been speaking about. So I'm looking at the time ticking on over here. It's almost close to the hour. I have not heard back from Seven. And perhaps what I should do at this point, since we've gone on for an hour, and she did leave us at a very riveting moment when she was talking about Richard Hanna, his email, and all of the information in that email and its connections to the crime cartel and its connections to the kind of use of the media that the cartel engages in. Oh, I'm so glad to see her. She's back again. I see her. Oh, there she is.
I'm back.
Hi, Seven. Can you hear me? Wonderful.
I'm sorry, we got bumped off.
I know, it's not your fault, obviously. I mean, I was just sort of explaining to the world at large that this is the kind of thing that happens when you try to expose the crime ring, the ultimate crime cartel, apparently,
right.
on Google Hangout.
Yeah, they're actually the biggest crime ring in the world. They are.
Yes.
Any form of filth, they're behind it. Trust me on that.
Absolutely. I believe you. Yes.
And they run the targeting operations, they run the false flag operations, they run racketeering, the
child trafficking, the pedophilia,
the
pedo ring.
They are mass, but they're not too big to stop, and this is the purpose of
good news.
Yes. I'm trying to mobilize the public to help to bring this to the spotlight. It just takes 5 major channels to actually report on this, and they'll shut down. That's how easy it is to shut them down. Because
I love that. I love your optimism, and I love your vision. And I hope we can, help you get to that point.
Well, I actually saw a rainbow today, and that was like my sign from the heavens that, you're on the right path. Just keep doing what you're doing, and, because it's been a long journey. It's been a nightmare journey for me, and I'm bearing up. I'm a very strong character. For the most part, I'm numb, to be honest with you, but I do burst into tears. Yesterday, I burst into tears, even though my brothers had said to me, Seven, if you're going to speak, hold it down. You know, don't break down and cry, because, you know, we need you to be strong and on it. Your family, your aunt, she needs you to be strong. So for the most part, I try to keep it together. But, you know, I'm human, so I do sometimes burst into tears, because it is overwhelming.
Of course, yeah.
It's extremely traumatic to see members of your family die in horrific ways. Not only the members of my family, but children.
Yes.
People threw their babies out of the window. I mean, how could you?
Yeah.
How could anybody organize to do such an evil, wicked thing to people that have done nothing whatsoever to them? How could I ask these people to search your conscience? How could you possibly ever even rationalize to do something like this? Would you want that to happen to you? Would you want somebody to do that to you? You would never want to be in that situation. There is no justification for this. None whatsoever. You know? And so with the responsibility, knowing what I know, having the evidence that I have, to try to be the instrument of peace, ultimately to stop this, to make the people that are doing this aware somehow that they must stop this, however deeply ingrained and rooted into this crime ring and this satanic they have become. I am trying to ensure that there is some sort of remnants of a conscience with these people, where they can recognize we cannot continue this. We must not continue this. There's some voices of reason within that place, within this crime ring. And this is my ultimate goal, is to see this crime ring shut down permanently. And this has been my emergency call to action. And to be honest, to achieve it is very, very easy. All it needs is some people that watch this video. If you haven't got, even if you have a small YouTube channel, you can report on this. You can report that there is a crime ring known as Seven Gate who are behind all these atrocities. I can show you the courtroom audios. You can contact me and get all the evidence that you want if you have any doubt about what I'm telling you. But all it takes is literally 5 big channels. Like, for instance, if Alex Jones' channel covered it, that would be one major channel. Okay, there's some really big players out there, people who've got massive channels. I can't remember all of their names. But if all the independent media were to actually get behind it, because they can't operate under the spotlight. All of these things require concealment. They require secrecy, you know, and a lot of these crimes are perpetrated on behalf of secrecy, because a lot of the people that are compromised have secrets. So they make these people, they compromise them with pedophilia, with, you know, having affairs, or having them in situations whereby they're caught in a fraud situation. So people are compromised in a number of ways. And then these people hold these secrets. And these secrets that people are being held to ransom, because obviously they don't want to be caught involved in fraud, involved in pedophilia, involved in any of the atrocities that we are witnessing on a massive scale on a daily basis. So this is how they compromise people, because essentially it is a racketeering operation. It's an organized crime outfit. They have, over the years, decades, they have basically amassed trillions upon trillions of pounds. And with this money, they have been able to buy the silence, buy the cooperation, buy the assassination, engineer false flag operations. This is how it's played out. And obviously it ties into wider agendas such as Agenda 21 and Agenda 2030, which is a depopulation plan.
Mm-hmm.
It is, if we look at the Georgia Guidestone, it says to keep the population at 500 million people. So that's the end game. The end game is to bring about a world where they can exist without anybody coming after them.
Right.
That's basically the basis of it all.
Right.
Where there's nobody to charge them with anything. Everybody's been compromised. Everybody's been imprisoned, enslaved, tortured, mind controlled, you know, or anybody who's a bigger threat. The bigger threats are basically assassinated, or they are targeted and, you know, terrorized to death until, you know, hopefully people take their own lives. This is what their end game is. And so basically they have a population of people who are either enslaved and under one way or another. This is how they're managing to stay out of jail. This is a whole stay out of prison exercise.
So it's one crime after another. It's like one false flag after another, one act of terrorism after another.
Right.
And, you know, with a big facade around it so that the fingers can be pointed in the wrong direction and not back at themselves. Right?
Absolutely. And because the melanated population are the biggest population in the world, meaning the people of color, we people of color, we represent, we are occupy the most. This is why when I hear minorities, I'm like, where's that coming from? You know, the black ethnic minorities. We're the biggest group on the planet. There are more of us. We were the first people here. We are the indigenous people incarnated. We, you know, we are our mothers and our grandfathers and our ancestral lineages for centuries. And so we're still here, you know. And so they want to wipe us off the earth. And this is why we have GRENFELL, and we have one Ebola, or was it bird flu? They always start in Africa, these places.
Oh, yes, yes.
You know, what was it? Bird flu, swine flu, Ebola. They just try desperately to get these
AIDS,
these things popping off. AIDS, exactly. Because I have a European friend who told me, I think he's a Caucasian South African, and he said to me that when he went to get his injections, etc., there were two queues, and there was one queue for all the black people, and there was one queue for all the white people.
Oh, wow.
And he was the black people. He didn't know, and they said, "No, no, no, get out of that queue. No, no."
That's pretty
because they were
wild.
injecting. Yeah, they were injecting everybody with the AIDS virus, and because he wasn't,
my gosh,
they told him to get out of that queue. I could bring him on one day. You know, he'll tell you the story himself.
Yeah.
But you know, so there is a mass.
There's a lot of story. There's a lot of hidden story behind AIDS. Really.
Absolutely, absolutely. Which is, you know, is also manufactured. But again, you know, what we're dealing with is a mass extermination program, and GRENFELL being one of blocks, because there's identified with that cladding is like 30,000 properties, tower blocks in the UK have that cladding on.
Oh my goodness.
And so what you're looking at is a extermination program, but obviously because it doesn't, you know, I don't think these people think, they just have these plans, and because they've co-opted all the key institutions, they've actually fooling themselves to believe that they have power over people. But the greatest form of power, as we know, is love, is truth, is justice. Those are the greatest forms of power in the world. And so if you think that just because you've got a mate over there who's manning the judiciary, and a mate who's also in your crime ring inside the police services, and you've got another mate who's also in the media running the lies and the crap, the fake news crap that we're seeing being spun out day after day after day. If you think that that is going to maintain your position, it isn't, because none of these things can operate in the spotlight.
Mm-mm.
All of these crimes can only exist behind the closed doors. How long can people go on assassinating anybody who speaks the truth? Oh, he knows what I'm doing, so let's kill him. You
Mm-hmm.
know, she knows what I'm doing, so let's kill
And they've
them.
been doing that. They've been killing people left, right, and center
Okay,
for a long time now. And you're right, it
it's
can't go on forever. And people do wake up. And I think what we're seeing right now in the world is a mass awakening.
absolutely, and this is why they're speeding up their plans and crying and quickening, trying to quicken. Because in fact, this is another key point that I haven't mentioned, but I must mention, which
Mm-hmm.
is key to all this, is the Bilderberg meeting, because obviously the
Oh,
people
yes.
involved are Bilderbergs. Now,
Yes.
between the 1st and the 4th of June this year, 2014, sorry, 2017, what am I saying, 2014? I was thinking about something else. But this year, they had their annual Bilderberg meeting. And the subjects for the meeting, and I've already sent you the information about this, was to stamp out all freedoms with prejudice, and I put slash violence. So that was the agenda. That's when we went into false flag overdrive. So we saw overdrive or false flag, one after the other, bam, 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 basically engineering all these situations using dead people's images on screen to make it look like that person died in a false flag, when actually it was a person who had died 4 years before in a complete situation. I mean, the whole thing has been so shoddy, from actors, crisis actors caught changing into police officers' clothes. I mean, there's been so much evidence to show that it's a hoax.
Mm-hmm.
But of course, I know the backstory, because there has been like a war going on between myself and them. To be honest, I don't consider what I'm doing to be the war. They are subjecting me to warfare. And
Mm-hmm.
I am, you know, defending myself, and also doing what they and anybody else would do in my situation, trying my level best to stop it.
Yes, and you know that what they are doing really is asymmetrical war. They even call it that now in their military documents. They call it asymmetrical warfare.
Okay,
They are
tell me.
labeling people enemy combatants and all sorts of other names, you know, belligerents and so forth. And they are going after just civilians and anybody whom they see as a threat. They will label you as an enemy of the state and they will go after you because they consider themselves the state. When clearly
Right,
they are, you know, criminals in high places. They're criminals hiding under the cover of
right.
the state.
Right. And you see, the only reason why they have the ability to call themselves anything is because the public affords them their power.
Right.
Once you give your power away over to someone, and an example of what I mean by giving away your power is not speaking out. You know,
Yes.
if you feel that I can't say anything because they are so mighty, and I'm like, oh my God, basically, we're just got flesh and blood. You know, we're all the same. It doesn't matter how much money anybody earns. Everything else is an illusion. Obviously, people talk about reptilians and stuff, but I don't go there. So I'm not going to argue about archons and reptiles and whatever else there is supposed to be out
Oh,
there.
good. I don't bother with that either.
I don't go there. I think a lot of it is a distraction. It's very interesting,
Yes,
and you
I
know,
agree. It's interesting to read and fascinating to look at, but there are so many stories out there, and it's very hard to sift through what the truth is and what the stories and what the lies and the disinfo and the psyops are.
right,
And maybe there are some
right.
people out there, you know, who can figure it out, and
Yeah,
good. I'm glad they exist. But I guess for our purposes, we stay focused on the crime and the criminals facing it.
absolutely. And this is what we need to, in order to change it, that's where we need to focus our attention. And
Mhm.
as I've said, it just takes 5 major channels. You know, 10 would shut it down completely.
Mhm.
100 major channels covering this story would bring the whole house down, like overnight.
Mhm.
That's how simple it is. Because the truth has power over the lies.
Yes,
You
absolutely.
know,
I
one
believe that
can
too.
blast 1,000 lies,
Hmm.
blast it out of the water by one truth, you know. And so this is what we have, you know, as our defense and our offensive.
Hmm.
You know, our offensive is to become spiritually empowered, birthright, you know, by our very presence being here. You know, we are divine sacred beings, and we have as much right to be on this planet as anybody else. And
Hmm.
it doesn't matter how much you've robbed, it doesn't matter who you know, it doesn't matter who you're associated to, what alphabet soup agency is attached to your name. It makes no difference. The reality is, all of us are going to die. You
Hmm.
know, we don't know when we're going to die, but we're all going to die. They're going to die. We're going to die. We all know we're going to die. So while we're alive, let us move in the direction of truth and justice and bringing peace onto the world. We
Yeah.
recognize is it's atrocity. It's atrocity. It is a thorn in the side of creation. Of it is the thorn in the side. It's an obstacle to love. You know, it's impossible to love when you have these kind of things going on in your life. I just want to go and play guitar and
Mhm.
look after my family, be with my family. That's what I love. Those are the things I love to do. I love to be creative. I don't want to have to spend my time looking at who these people are and who they're connected to. To be honest, I couldn't give a damn. I
Mhm.
just want to get on with my life. But I'm finding myself roped into a situation where now I have to spend my time proving what I know to be a fact. Okay, he's connected with him. He's connected with her. She's done this. This is what I have to spend my time doing and explaining. When, to be honest with you, I couldn't give a damn about any of these people. I
Mhm.
recognize mental health treatment as a matter of urgency. These are people who have psychologically got extreme disturbances.
Yes, absolutely. They're mentally deranged to be doing what they're doing to people.
Absolutely. And in fact, exorcism by priests has now become a phenomenon.
Hmm.
There are so many people who have been taken over by these demons and these satanic, sick, warped human beings
Hmm.
that, presuming that they're human beings, I say human beings, but as I said before, I recognize that reptiles, they're archons, I don't know. I'm just going to call them human beings.
Hmm.
There are people who are now having to be exorcised because in the UK, Satanism has literally taken over.
Well,
This
it's
is
the
the
same in the US. I mean,
satanic part
Satanism
of
has
the
taken over our
universe,
neighborhoods. It's taken
and
over our
Washington, D.C.
communities.
as well.
Yes, it's taken over the entire length and breadth of the United States of America, but many people do not see it because they're still
Say that
operating
again,
undercover.
Ramola. I can hardly hear you. You've gone.
Oh, really? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Am I too soft? Is that what's happening?
I can't hear you at all.
You can't hear me at all. Oh my
No.
goodness, that is so odd.
I can hear you now.
Oh, you can hear me now?
Go ahead.
Okay. I wonder what happened right there. Well, I was just saying
Yeah,
that,
you were basically cutting out.
oh dear, but that's the other thing. They're doing this to us. And this is part of the
Okay,
frustration of
so
using Google
say it
Hangout.
again.
Anyway, so um, I was just saying that Satanism is all over the place in the USA as well. It's in our neighborhoods, it's in our communities, and it is precisely that which is co-opting people in neighborhoods and communities now. So when people are moved into color coding, and in fact they're wearing the special colors that they like to get people to use are red, black, and white. Those are the Nazi colors, they're the Satanist colors. They've got a lot of people using those colors and also engaging in very weird satanical ritual-like things, with brooms and turning their backs to you and reversing in front of you. All these strange occult black magic practices. They've got people doing. And I don't know how they've convinced people to engage in this nonsense along with them, you know, but that's what they've gotten people to do. So, so when you say the UK is awash in Satanism, trust me, it's here too. And I wonder, though, how many people see it. People who are targeted certainly are subjected to it non-stop. So we see it all the time. But I wonder if other people can see it because they're not looking for it or they're not taking in what they are seeing.
Yes, exactly. But I want to come back because before we got cut off, I actually was showing the people the links to how I knew Grenfell was going to happen.
Yes, yes. I just wanted to say a couple things, Seven. Before you came back on, I was looking at the time and thinking maybe I should wrap it up because it was around the hour at that point. So now we've gone 20 minutes past the hour. So what I'm thinking is maybe if we wrap it up within the next 10 minutes, so we have a 1.5 hour show. And then if we need to, we can do a sequel and come back.
Right, okay. So, okay, what I will say to people then, if we're going to wrap it up, because I want to be able to still give people the information that they can look at.
Yes,
for themselves.
And in fact, why don't you finish your thoughts there with Richard Hanna and how that connects with Grenfell Tower? I think that would be very valuable.
Yeah. Okay, so let me just do that because it's really key so that when we come back, we can actually come back fresh.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go back to sharing again. I don't know how much you saw before. You saw the email, did you?
We did. We saw the email and it just started to freeze when you were talking about, I think, the second paragraph where there was an invitation to you to go somewhere to meet with SMG, the Scottish Media Group, Dame Helen Alexander, etc. At that point, it froze at that point.
Okay, so basically, I need to just quickly tie in. Okay, so let me go. Just bear with me then.
Sure.
I'm just gonna give people. If I resume quickly, okay. If you just bear with me until it opens.
Oh,
okay,
absolutely.
So now I have this.
Yeah.
I just need. Okay, so I'm going to share. Hopefully you can see the share.
Not yet, but
is it sharing?
Not yet, because there's another dialogue which says start sharing or something like that, and you have to click it again.
Right there. All right, so hopefully it will bring up the actual. Okay, so now we are sharing.
Yes.
Okay, so I'm going to go back to this page and bring you back to this particular email. Now, can you see what I'm sharing here?
Yes, yes. It's a little tiny though, again, you may need to enlarge a bit. Yeah.
Okay, so you should see quite large.
Perfect, I can read it now, yeah.
So this was the email, and did you see? So basically, they invite me to a meeting because I had developed a multimedia platform. They invite me to the meeting with them for them to steal my. So obviously, what they had a plan to unleash sales with my stolen documents, but for the purposes of carrying out murder and vengeance on the public. That was the ultimate plan, is to steal, to unleash hell all over the place. Now, I didn't actually understand that this man literally had planned to do what we are now seeing. So can you see this?
It doesn't even make sense. You know what I mean? It's like it's very hard to understand the thinking there. How does it actually work out in that way? How could he possibly be doing that unless, of course, there's some intent, behind the scenes intentionality behind it?
Right. Well, what we're talking about is a conspiracy to defraud and murder innocent members of the public. And we're talking about people that are psychologically not well. You know,
Yes. Yeah.
unfortunately for all of us, we're talking about somebody who's extremely, extremely unwell. This man lives his entire life through television shows. You know, so this is how I knew. His alias is Maximus,
Mm-hmm.
and he calls himself TV program selling us. So basically, this man who has a military background, who works in, he's part of the shadow government, invited me to meet this woman who also is part of the shadow government. These are ringleaders in the Seven Gate crime ring. Helen Alexander, she was with the Scottish Media Group's head of factual. One of the things that these people do is they use identity fraud, and they embed their plots in television shows as well as media. And that's when you go back to Operation Mockingbird. This is something that has been done since the 1950s, where they've used media and Hollywood to spread propaganda. Can you hear me?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'm trying to
Okay.
keep silence, so we give you the floor and we can the
Okay.
screen stays.
All right. So because okay, thank you. Because of the purposes of time, I'm going to speed through this. So let me close this down. And just for a second, I will show you something else before I get to. This is with that email. When he invited me to the meeting, when this man invited me, can you see this image, Ramola?
Yes. Yes. Yeah.
Okay, this is the identity that Richard used to bring us to the meeting. He said that this man was him.
Oh my goodness, really?
Yes, he sent this email to me saying that this was him. Now, this man here is a lordship, isn't he? He's
Yeah.
some sort of Lord Mayor or what have you. Now, he was actually, in order to lure us into the meeting by deception, this person as himself. To this day, I don't even know who this person is. But this was part of my court case. My court case. Psychopath Hannah fraudulently used the identity of an unknown man to lure us into the business meeting to see Helen Alexander. So this is very key here.
Okay.
So he was posing as this man. Now, I'm going to shut this down. I'm not going to show this. Perhaps on the next one we can see some more. But this is actually Richard Hannah. This is the real Richard Hannah. Obviously not the man that I showed you before. Yeah?
Yeah, very interesting. Why would he even want to present
his eyes,
this
the
idea
man,
of a different identity?
Well, this is a man who is not well. You know, unfortunately for the rest of us, this man has amassed a great deal of money, and he's using that money to carry out some extremely sick crimes against the public. These are the Seven Gate crime ring. Okay, just so that everybody can see. This woman here is a key player. Now, if anybody looks into the research, they'll realize that at the same time as Grenfell Tower, there was also in Alexandria in the USA. Do you remember that?
Yes, yes, and some kind of
so that's key
right?
as well, because that's her actually leaving a clue that Grenfell, she was behind Grenfell. Okay, so basically these are the characters. I'm just going to run it slowly so that you can see them clearly. The people that we want to leaders of the Seven Gate crime ring, Illuminati, Zionist crime ring, to shut down. I'm going to shut this down right now, and I'm going to go to something else. Okay, I want to show you something else because we're going to tie it into the whole Grenfell thing. If you just bear with me for a second. But it's very, very important that you see these pieces of evidence. Okay, so, okay, this is my work, by the way, that they stole from me. These are all famous TV shows that are grossing literally billions of pounds every year, and for the last 14 years. And this is like 1% of what they've stolen from me over the last 14 years. So we're talking right there, trillions of pounds in licensing fees, because these shows have been licensed in countries. Vast amount of money. And this is part of their warfare with me. And all the fact that I know information about their crime ring. So this show here is based, this is a BBC show, Hustle, the Con is On. This was brought out in 2004, and all of these people here are playing different members of the crime ring, the Seven Gate crime ring. She is in fact playing Helen Alexander. He is playing Richard Hanna. He is playing Tony English. He is playing Christopher Gossage. These were my lawyers from the Russell's law firm, which are part of the mafia group called the Russells Group. They are notorious. And this man here is playing Jim Hansen, again, who's also part of the crime ring. Now, this is key because it shows you that they actually immortalize themselves in TV. There's a very clear connection between the crimes that they perpetrate in real life and these crimes being embedded as plot lines and script lines in TV shows. So, so let me just go back. Now, we're going to fast forward to Grenfell. I know we don't have a great deal of time, and please forgive me in the audience for having to kind of, because there's been a situation kicking off here as well. Okay, so basically I showed you that there was a movie in production called High Rise, which depicted a high-rise block being going fire. Now, this is very key as well, because this was the cover of the Economist magazine. I'm going to actually, let me get you another one, because
it's those tarot
it says
cards,
the world
right?
in 27. Yes, these are tarot cards, and this was the front cover of the Economist group magazine. And basically they show a tower on fire. They also show Trump coming in. They show a Tiber, interestingly enough, is the crowds of people protesting after they commit their atrocities. So if I can make it bigger, if I can make the picture bigger, you will see. Can you see that? That's people in the streets with flags and everything, just like we saw after Grenfell.
Yes, yeah, amazing.
So basically, they committed the atrocity to have a tower be burning. The tower, you can see it says the tower. So obviously, they're showing that there's a tower burning. We see that Trump comes in. Now, the Grenfell Tower was done on Trump's birthday, which is the 14th of June. I'm told that it was actually Trump's birthday. So that's the linkages to the tower here.
Yeah.
And so then we have the people protesting after they actually carried out the atrocities. Yeah. So we're talking full-scale Hegelian dialectic with basically problem reaction. Create the problem, they create the reaction, and then they want to bring about the solution, which is to create some public hocus pocus public inquiry where nobody ever did. Everybody keeps talking about corporate manslaughter and prosecutions. Okay, so I want to show you now, quick, if I can find it very, very quickly, because it's extremely important that you see this in order to understand the connection. Okay, I found it. All right, so this here is part of the movie called Dark Tower. Now, obviously, I showed you the tower looks. Is what is left is a dark tower, isn't it? It's like a black shell of a tower. And that what we have is a character called Lord Grenfell. Okay. Now this is very important, and we'll see that this Lord Grenfell happens to be Idris Elba, or I think his name is Idris Elba. But what's key about it being Idris Elba is that he's black, just like Hannah.
Oh,
now Hannah is a very huge black male, a black man, melanated man. He's huge. So he's like a tower himself. So you could say that Dark Tower, he is a form of a Dark Tower, this Richard Hannah.
Interesting.
So you see that Lord Grenfell is the lead character of this movie, which is about to come out in August. Okay. So obviously this is part of the predictor programming, and it's also part of the Operation Mockingbird, which is what they do. It's also part of a satanic show the public what they're going to carry out prior to. Let me just show you another part of this.
Yeah, but this particular one is absolutely mind-numbing because it's so in your face.
It's right in your face. It gets even more. So this is a dark so in the TV show Hustle, it said the con is on, right?
Oh yes,
so
and
now,
that, by the way, the Hustle, the con is on, where they literally took what happened to you and they made it into a television show. It's so skewed and so distorted. It doesn't make
me in real life. This is when I started to realize that this was going on, because I'm an ordinary person. I had no idea that this sort of thing was actually kicking off until I realized they were doing it to me. First, they stole my name and they gave it to a blonde girl. They were setting up a band, a pop band, with
your name,
a blonde girl, with my name. And people went thinking it was me. They went to the show thinking it was me, only to see this blonde girl. And that's when I started realizing this whole world was happening. This world of embedding real events into television shows and it being played out in real time. So we see here this thing, Comic Con, as entertainment. And we see the word con is there again, right? So basically, comic as in we're laughing at you and we're conning you. Yeah. So Dark Tower, the epic saga of it hits the big screens. The big screens, they mean they actually going to carry it out in real life. That's what that means. Okay. So let me now just show you. I want to show you because this is where
really,
you,
you look at everything coming together with that tarot card, with Ballard's book, High Rise, and then the movie Dark Tower with a lead character called Lord Grenfell.
Absolutely. And so it gets worse. Believe me, it gets worse. And this is what I want to show to you now, if I can find it. Because Grenfell Tower was named after somebody called Lord Grenfell. And that's where it is very interesting.
Oh my goodness. So then Grenfell, it really sort of comes full circle over there with that.
Yes. Yes. So basically we see this is okay, so this is basically about Project Mockingbird. And this was on the 4th of July. This is from a channel called Outer, a YouTube channel, very interesting YouTube channel. He always puts really good things out. But it says US military intelligence agencies have influence over 1,800 movies and TV shows, and many were Hollywood blockbusters.
Yes, that was in the news just recently.
Very key. And this was really, yes, 4th of July. And obviously this Operation Mockingbird, and I'll make it slightly bigger so that people can read it clearly.
You know, if you could send me all of these links after,
basically what they're doing is they're mocking the Okay, so now I want to know what Grenfell is. Okay, all right. Actually, when you type in Grenfell Tower, and it might answer out of all the victims, this is me putting Grenfell Tower into the search engine and what the meaning of Grenfell Tower. And look at that.
And your aunt's picture
My
shows
aunt
that.
comes up. Out of, yes, I found that like very, very telling.
Yes, it's very interesting because especially
Because
in light of
obviously,
the fact that your name has been associated with other false flags.
absolutely. So this report has been done by Tom Secker and Matthew Alford. Documents expose how Hollywood promotes war on behalf of Pentagon and CIA and NSA, but also GCHQ, because they always, interestingly, they never mention the British, actually the largest influence. You know, they always make it look like it's, you know, the British influence is very small, but it actually is the other way around. The British people have the biggest influence in all this.
Mm-hmm.
So I want to show you Lord Grenfell. This is Lord Grenfell here.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so if we look, his name is Julian Passent Ledger Grenfell in the House of Lords in 17th of April 2000. Interesting thing about this man here is that he was in fact his father or his ancestor, whether it's his father, his ancestor was the first, he's the third Baron, but he's the man who Grenfell Tower was named after. And it's Lord Grenfell here, which is a military commander.
Oh.
And it shows that he was born in April 1841. He died in January 1920. So, okay, so let's go quickly, because this is very important before we sign off. I really want people to get this.
Mm-hmm. And Grenfell Tower was put up in 1974,
very key what took place, right? In Grenfell.
Hello?
Yes. So, but it was named in particular after Grenfell Road. It's Grenfell. Can you hear me still?
I can hear you. Are you still sharing screens?
Can you hear me, Ramola?
Yes, I can hear you. Yes, can you hear me?
You can.
Yes, I can hear you.
Yes, I am. Can you?
Okay, good. Yeah.
Yes, I can hear you. Okay. All right. So let me just show you. I really need you to get this. Okay. Right. Lord Grenfell was he was a television, he was a former, well, let me show you the evidence of that before.
Oh,
this is what he was part of Associated Television, which was taken over, interesting, the TV network that was involved in my case, the Seven Gate. Because if you look, it's okay. So let me just go back one first. I want to go back.
Okay.
To show you description. Okay, Grenfell Tower. This is about that tower itself. But I want to show you the information about Lord Grenfell because it says exactly why they would have called the movie Grenfell Tower and why that. So okay, so this is the Lord Grenfell. Okay.
Okay.
Lord Grenfell. Okay. Student Pastor France and Ledger.
You know, Seven, your voice.
Can you see all this?
I can, but your voice is kind of breaking up quite a bit.
Remember?
Yes, can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you, but your voice.
I can hear you. Can
you know,
hear
your
me?
audio is being messed with, at least at my side, and it's really kind of breaking up over here. Can you hear me okay? All right, things are sort of freezing now. I'm seeing the video freezing as well. And I'm not sure if you're there because I cannot hear you
Can
right
you
now.
see the screen?
Okay. Maybe you
Can
should.
you see?
I can see you. I mean, no, sorry, I can't see you. I can hear you.
Can you see the screen?
Yes, I can see the
Can
screen.
you?
It's your audio that's breaking up quite a bit.
Can you see the screen? What?
On and off, not all the time.
Okay. Okay, I'm going to show people. Read what I'm putting on the screen.
Okay, right now the screen says.
This information, can you hear that?
I'm sorry, what did you just say?
Ramola.
Yes, I'm not hearing you.
Ramola.
Yes. I can't quite hear you.
Can you see?
Okay.
You can't hear me.
Yes,
Ramola.
it's really breaking up. Really breaking up. The voice.
Look, I'm showing you. Look at this. Okay, look at what I'm showing. Okay, look at this.
You know, the screen is blanking out. The screen is absolutely black at my end. When you say, you know, look at what I'm showing you, the screen is totally black. And I'm trying to highlight your screen, but it's showing me absolute blackness at this point. I'm not seeing your screen. Okay, it kind of looks like 7 is opening a new window, which is great because something is wrong with this current window. I'm not seeing her video. So,
Ramola.
7, can you hear me?
Ramola.
Hi, I can hear you, but we have an audio
delay.
Yes, I can hear you. And I can see you. Something odd was happening. Yes.
You can hear me?
Yes. This is so ridiculous. And we're still on the podcast.
Oh.
Okay, clearly we're being messed with in a big way. So you know what I'm thinking is the next time we do this, we are definitely not doing it on Google Hangout, because I don't know how they can mess with the audio and video to such an extreme extent. It's absolutely outrageous. Absolutely. So I could not see your screen at the end, you know, when you kept saying, can you see the screen? It was black. It was totally black. I could not see anything.
All right. Okay. So I'm going to try. Just stay there.
Mm-hmm.
Can you see now?
Yes.
Okay. Pay attention to this date, 13th of June. Right? That's the day before the Grenfell fire, right?
That was the night of the fire, wasn't it? It was the 13th into the 14th of June.
Yes,
the night
and
of
they
June
put this in. Okay, so then you have associated television networks have done this fire in homage to this man, it appears.
Oh my gosh.
Baron Grenfell is former Labour member. That's why I say to people, it's not about the Tories and Labour. That's ridiculous. You know, both of them are all part of this whole thing.
Yeah.
He's Labour. Julian Pascoe Francis St. Ledger Grenfell, 3rd Baron Grenfell, is former Labour member, House of Lords, where he's well known for his strong Europhile views. As a hereditary peer and was granted a life peerage in 2000, Lord Grenfell was a programme presenter at Associated Television from 1950 to 1963. He's a freelance journalist from 1963 to 1964. He was with the World Bank. Can you still hear me?
Yes,
Ramola?
I can hear you. I'm following along. Yeah.
Okay. He was at the World Bank 1965 when I was born, and 1995 DC, New York City, where he was special representative of United Nations in 1974 to 1981, and Paris. So it's interesting that this man, the day of Grenfell Tower, Lord Grenfell, has, and who's associated to TV networks.
Yes.
Now, this is very key. It's very key because it helps you to understand and connect the dots between what here.
So
and
that
actually,
interview with him was published on that date, on June 13, 2017.
Yes, while the fire was taking place. And that building is named after his lineage.
And where was that interview published? What blog was that, or what website?
I got it from, I'll tell you who. It says Nicholas.
Yeah.
I don't even know where I found it now, but because that's just a screen grab.
Okay, and is that his interview with this Lord Grenfell?
It's an interview with Lord Grenfell where Lord Grenfell speaks in first person. I was born in London, 1935.
Oh, you mean, okay, was this guy dead? Is this sort of a fictionalized interview, or is it a real interview?
I think it's real. I think it's real.
Okay, so he was still alive. He is still alive. Okay.
This is what it appears, because this is published on the 13th of June, the same day as Grenfell.
Oh my, this is so macabre in a sense. You know, the guy is still alive.
It tells you the rituals that are involved.
Yes,
I mean,
the tower is named after him.
Yes, after his ancestor, who was a military officer, because the tower was where Grenfell Road is named after this man's family lineage, the Grenfells.
Oh, okay. It wasn't named for him. It was named for his grandfather, who was in the military.
Yes, the first Baron. He's the third Baron.
Okay.
But his grandfather.
So this is why I thought the guy was dead, because we were talking about the first Baron a little bit earlier, and he died in the 20s or 30s or something, right? Yeah.
The third Baron of Grenfell.
Okay.
Okay. So then when we look at, so if you tie in that there is a movie called Tower with the lead character called Lord Grenfell, if you also tie in that Hannah, who is a black male, who assumes the identity of white lords, that's what he does.
Oh.
Yes.
Because he was using that picture to kind of project himself.
Right. And so there's a movie now with a black male called Lord Grenfell. This is why when we talk about the Illuminati, we talk about Zionists, Satanists, it's not resigned to one culture.
Yeah.
You know, there are lots of different people of different cultures involved in this thing.
Right. You know, and they're all practicing this weird kind of Hegelian dialectic and, you know, the black-white duality. And
basically, we have to come away from the fact that it's one group of people. We know white supremacy is real. That's a reality.
Right.
Okay. We know that that is practiced widespread in the UK. You know, there is a white supremacist hierarchical structure. But when we're talking about Satanism, Zionism, and all these types of things, it's not exclusive to one race of people. There are other people of other races involved in this thing. And that's why who's a key figure in this thing is very important. Now, I want to show you what I sent you the 2 days before the fire, which is why I knew something was about to happen. Now, if you remember 2 days before the fire, and it's interesting because there's other stuff.
We sent out an urgent notice just about that time.
Look at this. This is interesting as well. This is will.i.am of British culture. will.i.am presents fire.
Oh my goodness. Is that William presents
something else? Yes. So this again was another kind of subliminal message pre-Grenfell.
Yeah.
Sort of mocking that it was about to happen. Okay. So I want to go to now to the information that I saw just before the fire.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, it says Max has put his final stage of revenge plan. Okay, this is a. Okay, let me just go back. I sent you this, and I sent it
Yes.
to a number of people 2 days before the fire, because once I saw it, yes,
Yes. Yes.
exit for Charlie as Max. Forget about the surnames here. Just put in the Charlies and the Max. And
Right.
remember,
Oh my goodness.
Anne Hannah's alias is Max. When I saw this, and this I saw, this was published on Friday the 9th of June, but I actually saw it on the 12th of June.
Mm-hmm.
And I sent it to you, I sent it to Tony Farrell, I sent it to Alfred Weber, and I sent it to a number of people who are aware of the game that
Yeah.
takes place.
Yeah. And
With,
you may want to spell out who are the characters in the EastEnders. Max Branning is a villain in the EastEnders.
Well, to be honest with you, I don't even know who they are.
Okay.
I just saw this basic thing and I knew what it meant because I understand code.
Right.
It says exit for Charlie as Max Branning, most evil act yet. So that tells you that there has been lots of evils going on beforehand.
Right.
When you say most evil, that means that pre this particular act that this character is about to do,
Mm-hmm.
he has done many. Okay, so
Mm-hmm.
when we say many evils, we can say 7/7 atrocities, we can say Charlie Hebdo, we
Mm-hmm.
can say Boston,
Mm-hmm.
we can say Orlando bombings, we can say Paris attacks. There's been a number, okay,
Mm-hmm.
all at the hand of this character, these particular characters that I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
So when I read this, knowing all that I know, and it's too much stuff to explain in the short period of time because we don't have a lot of time. Perhaps we can split this into part one. It won't be so long.
Yes,
Ramona.
absolutely. And as I was saying, Seven, we can definitely come back. I think you've done a phenomenal job actually taking us through so much already, which is already established for us, I think, and for the viewers, that there's a definite connection. And all of this was indeed foreshadowed and presaged deliberately in a lot of media and television shows and books and movies and stuff.
Right.
And I think that you really laid it out. If you want to continue, what we can do perhaps is wrap this up, and feel free to wrap it up in any which way you want to bring it back to the main story, and we'll pick up again with part 2.
Okay, so
doing.
what I want to do, I wanted to show you again to close this, really, to give people an insight that they're not necessarily, there's some great investigators on YouTube's, and all of them, because if it hadn't been for the people on YouTube that have been bringing out evidence, I wouldn't have been able to get so much evidence myself.
Mm-hmm.
There is very good reports by a number of people. There's Deborah Monamudi. I can't say her name. I apologize. I can't say her name very well.
Mm-hmm.
Especially if I read it, then it's easier. But because it's not in front of me.
We'll put her link below the video.
I've done the crime report, and she talks about austerity, but she does reference Roland Bernard.
Oh,
Roland Bernard,
yes,
the banker, who talks about the higher up the satanic crime.
Yes,
chain, the
testimonial.
Yes,
it's essential to our understanding. Yes,
right. So the more satanic it gets. So the important thing is, there's a few just key things I want to say before we close, and that is that we know that the building was up for demolition in 2014. All the evidence here, but I'm not going to be able to show everything, so I'll just tell you where
I covered it in my article as well.
Okay, right. So it's important that you know that. It's important that people know that it's one of the biggest insurance claim going to be in history, apparently, with Grenfell, because And I show people this. Can you see this?
Yes. Oh my.
Okay, I've been sort of going through my links. Okay, Grenfell Tower insurance bill could be Europe's biggest ever reports. Okay, so Zurich, again, is the company that was named as Grenfell Towers Insurance Company. Again, this is linked.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so this is linked again to my my case, and also even Dr. Horton, because there's a lot of Swiss links to these companies.
Yes,
I always try to tell you that this crime are the biggest, and they're running the targeting, and it's global. It's not just in the UK, etc. You know, but there are links to other countries, and what you will find is that there are links to Swiss companies. The people that were involved in Grenfell have 44 companies. You know, you have one man who's the director of 44 companies. Whenever you see stuff like that going on, you're talking about high-level corruption. You're talking about corruption where they are using boiler rooms and all sorts. So I wanted to show you more information about the insurance. Okay, so Zurich was the original people for Grenfell, and they've changed over to a Norwegian insurer, Protector Forsikring, for Ring, and basically the payout is something like 1 billion. But the interesting thing about that is that they changed the insurance company 3 months before to include human casualties.
Oh my God.
So they originally company Zurich, but they changed to this one, Protectors Forsikring, to include human casualties.
And who will get this money?
The criminal network. You know, they were basically, yes. So when you start to put this, to recognize that this was premeditated. Who claimed for insurance 3 months before to include human casualties unless they're intending to carry out crimes with human casualties?
Yeah, it sounds like classic crime signaling, isn't it?
This is classic organized crime. We see here that they applied for the demolition again in September 2014 of Grenfell Tower, Grenfell Road.
Right.
And this is when they applied to put the cladding on the bin, over the cladding with the windows, put a new heating system in. So basically, they initially applied to demolish the plight in September 2014 to put on this cladding.
Right, I understand that when they applied to demolish the building, that application was refused, right, was denied. And so they went on with the second plan, with Plan B, apparently, to put cladding on the building.
Right, so quite rightly, it should be here. So the original plan was to demolish the building, which was basically decision date not available. And this is for description of works demolition. So this is 22nd of May 2014. And this is for the demolition of Grenfell Tower, Grenfell Road.
Right.
And obviously they were not able to do that. So they slyly decided, okay, what we'll do is put the cladding on and kill everybody inside the building. And that way we'll get the insurance. So then, okay, so this is exactly what they did. They applied description of work. But again, it was not approved.
Yeah.
So what they did, they then, you know, the people, because it was flagged up by the residents, because there had been a number of fires in other buildings that was being run by a management company, KCTMO, which had been flagged up as a mafia company, because other buildings had burst into flames beforehand. And I wanted to show you something about that.
Yeah, I
But
remember
perhaps
reading
we're
an
going to
article about it. Yes, and perhaps we can pick up on this conversation right there, Seven,
yes.
the next time,
Okay.
because I think at this point you've certainly made a dramatic case for organized
Okay.
crime with that insurance that has just been taken out, you know,
Yes.
including the possibility of casualties and so forth, and upping the insurance figures at that point. I think you've established over here the baseline for all of us to understand that indeed this was a setup.
Yes, of course. And I want to just say something else before we...
Absolutely. Do you want to come back to yourself? Because we're still looking at your screen.
No, I'm going to come back, but I want you to see, this is my aunt. She lived on the 16th floor, okay, of Grenfell Tower. This is my Aunt Marjorie, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, so when you look at the news press about my aunt, they say that my aunt lived on the 19th floor. Why have they changed
they
my
changed
aunt's
the number
address? I want to show you that. In all the press, they keep flagging up my aunt, but instead of flagging her up with the correct address, flagging her up. This one, I'm not sure. I'm trying to show you on screen. Hang on, it might be in this one. I apologize for right, so I'm just Grenfell. Let's see if I can get my aunt to open with the email that we started off with.
Oh, that's the article about the 911
No, this
investigate.
one here. This one here, I want to show you that again. I want to close how we open because I want people to ponder on why have they changed the address of... They said tragic Marjorie Vital is believed to have been living on the 19th floor of the tower block. She lived on the 16th floor, flat 162. To identify her remains, obviously they know where she lives.
Yes.
Obviously, in order to identify this person and confirm her as dead in this article, they would have known that she lived on the 16th floor, flat 162. So ask yourself, why have they concealed it? And why are they now putting out
perhaps
as much
something
as
you can do is leave a comment on that website for, is it the Independent or the Guardian?
No, this one is actually the Sun newspaper, I believe.
Sun.
This publication is the Sun.
Do you think you could send them that information to let them know that they have that wrong, that she did not live on the 19th floor, but on the 16th floor?
Yeah, I they already know that. What the point that the case that I'm making here is that they know it is called concealment. They know exactly where she is, and they know that she's my aunt.
Yes, because her address would have her number, would have her flat number on it.
Of course, to identify remains, they would have gone into her flat and collected what was left, the remnant of her body.
Yeah, yeah. So
this is the tower.
So how
here we're left with the image of the Dark Tower.
Yes.
This is what they had intended to create, just as it says in the movie. And in the movie, the whole plot is about taking down this tower and unleashing unbelievable evil.
Yeah, yeah.
They've unleashed is upon them. It's
and
not upon us.
How do you read their concealment of the true information about your aunt, about where she lived? Why do you think they're doing that?
No, stop sharing. Okay, I'm coming back to you now. Can you see me again?
Yes, yes, I can see you. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. What was your question? Sorry.
I just wanted to know how you read into that, because you can see that they are concealing the truth about where she lived, right?
Right.
But how do you read that?
Well, I read that they know that it's my aunt. Whether they knew, whether my aunt living there was a coincidence and that was not something they factored in. I don't know. I don't know if they knew my aunt was living in there, or whether they didn't know. And now that they realize that my aunt is living there, they're concealing it, because she lived on the 16th floor, which again is 7, which comes back to the 7 gate crime ring.
Right. I wanted to talk about that just for a second. Yes.
Yes,
because
it
that's
leads
the
people
connection
back
with
to
you
the
and
whole
with your name.
situation. Sorry?
Because that's the connection with your name and with you at the heart of 7 Gate.
Yeah, right. And this is the thing. All the crimes, this particular crime ring, they always flag up number 7 in some way. 7 dead, 7 of July 2005, 52 people were killed. I mean, if you look, now they're saying it's 250 survivors. 250 survivors. Again, that's 7. You know, and so they do this, they flag it up, because I've had a 14-year, they have waged war against me for 14 years because I want to be credited and paid for all the works of mine that they stole.
Yeah, it's absolutely incredible just to look at what they are doing, and also the connections with your name. And we also know that these people, these Satanists, cultists who are hiding in our intelligence agencies and so forth, they are fascinated with the number 7, as they're fascinated with some other numbers as well, like 13 and so forth. So,
it seems to be part of a ritual that they have been projecting upon me, and it's so sick. I just want people to help us to A, expose it, and B, shut it down. To happen in that order. Unless we exposed it, this is going to continue forever. These people cannot see reason. I'm hoping to be the instrument of peace. I'm hoping to be some voice of reason within that crime ring that will make them understand we have to stop doing this. We cannot hurting innocent people. I hope to be the person, the catalyst that brings about that change in that sense. But in terms of as the people who it's being perpetrated upon, we have a responsibility to stop it. We can't have any more Grenfells. And if we don't stop it, this is what we're going to see. We're going to see more and more, because they've already said that they've identified 30,000 properties in the UK as now. The reality is they are planning to evacuate these places. Where are they going to put the people? We know that they have freeware. When you're talking about people that are that sick, we know the possibility of people being put into FEMA camps is a real one. It's a very, very real one. And we have to understand that this is not just playing out in the United Kingdom. It's also playing out in America and all over the globe.
It is. It's playing out in the US and in Europe, elsewhere in Europe.
Absolutely. And so this crime ring are international. And that's why it's going to take an international effort of the people.
It is. And you're right. You're right, Seven.
Absolutely. Okay, so what I want to say is this as a closing note. Because I'm a solutionary, I don't want to stand here and just bring you, this is the problem, this is the problem, this is the problem. I'm interested, this is the problem, this is what we need to do about it. So what we need to do about it now is, so I'm playing about with a little stick here, incest stick. What we need to do about it is we need to recognize, number one, that this crime ring exists. Therefore, you're not going to get any inquiry. There'll be no inquiry. What you will get is a hocus pocus, acting kind of dramatization to make it look like they're planning to do something, but they're not going to do anything. They're not going to report on themselves. You have to accept that and recognize that that is a reality. There will be no public inquiry. All you're going to get is lies and more cover-ups. This is what they do. They're not going to report on themselves. You cannot go to demons about the devil. You cannot go to Satan about Satan. So that's rule number one. You have to respect and recognize that we are dealing with a corrupt system, a corrupt individuals who are guilty of sin. Okay, once you understand that, then we can start moving into the ways that we can be effective. We have to compile our own evidence. If you sit there and expect them to bring you the evidence of their own crimes, you're not opening your eyes. Gathered the evidence just like I've gathered the evidence, because it's all in the public domain. You have to gather as much of it as possible, because every one of us that gathers evidence, we bring new things to the table. Other people gather evidence and I see theirs and it's different from mine. You know, I'm looking for specific things because I know this crime ring exists. So I'll look for the links towards media, you know, all the monetary corruption, financial corruption links. I'll look at those areas, but other people find other types of evidence. So we need people to gather that evidence, even if it is the same as my evidence. It doesn't matter. We need that. We also need to start a tidal wave of class actions, private indictments, private prosecutions. We have some expert lawyers, people who are very skilled, who can come forward. We need people to help us in that capacity so that we can start a movement of class actions, that we will flood the courts with class actions and private prosecutions with the evidence of these people in a way that cannot be turned away, because the courts belong to everybody, even though they are being controlled and they're corrupt. If you look at Operation Tiberius, it shows you clearly that the UK courts have been completely taken over by criminals that are using Freemasonry to cover up their crimes. To Operation Tiberius, look it up. All in the public domain. Operation Mockingbird, Operation Tiberius. These things affect our lives, because it means that if we don't recognize that this is in effect and we don't pay attention to it, we will sit there and let 2 years run by while they get away and they find ways to cover everything up and come back and say, oh, they're sorry, we can't prosecute anybody for anything.
And you know, they're also working hard to shut down alternative media. They're working hard to shut down the voices speaking out. So if we do not act now, you know, we're going to be in deeper soup in like a year or 2 years from now.
Right. So absolutely. And this is why, I mean, if think about it this way, because I know people that say to me, Seven, I'm not you. I can't speak like you. I'm not as bold as you. But I say, I don't know when my last day of speaking is. You know, they could shut down the internet tomorrow. We could all be dead tomorrow. We have to use the now. We have to do what we can do now, because if they have their way, every single one of us will be dead. This is what the plan is. If you understand what Agenda 21 is, you understand what Agenda 2030 is, and you look at the Georgia Guidestones where they say, keep the population to 500 million people. If you look at the fire in 1666, Pudding Lane, as an example, where they set fire to the whole of London, you know, this is what they do. This is the culture. This is what they've been doing this for centuries. You have to understand, this is their mechanism of survival. They are a cancer on society, and we cannot coexist with cancer. So therefore, the cancer will try to kill you or kill us so that it can continue to exist. It's in the body. It will kill you so that it can exist. You either kill it or it kills you. There is no living in harmony with it. Somehow we have to try to neutralize it so that it recognizes you have been exposed. We know what you're doing. We will not tolerate it. We will bring prosecutions against you. We know that you're trying to kill us. We know that you're trying to land grab, steal, pillage, rape, torture, and murder all of us. And we're not going to stand for it.
Mhm.
That's where we have to get. And so this is why everybody that's watching this has a responsibility. However much we have fear, courage. This is a time of great courage. We now have the Leo, moon in Leo today, actually. And no, Mercury is in Leo, in fact, for the next 4 weeks. And
I
it's a
love it.
wonderful time for speaking out. Those are us who have our Mercury in Leo. It's time for us to use our voice. And we know we both have our Mercuries in Leo.
Yes.
And, you know, and the moon is in Leo tonight. And it's a time of courage. It's a time of people saying, you know, I have to do this. You know, I have to do this for my children, from the survival of our families and humanity. We have the opportunity to change this, and we must change it. We cannot just sit there and say, oh my God, they're doing this and they're doing that, and they have power over that. I have power. I have power individually to stand up, gather evidence, and assert it, you know, and let the evidence speak for itself to all the people who's looking at it. Yeah, they're going to send people like Mark Windows in to smear your character, call you a liar, call you a fantasist, say all sorts of things, say, oh, they work as agents or whatever. They'll try every move in the book to silence what we're doing. But you have not to pay attention to that. You stick with, these people are harming people. They are harming humanity, and they are harming themselves ultimately. And we have a responsibility to stop it. And we must.
Yes,
you know,
absolutely.
we must. So this is where, you know, this is my contribution for today. You know, it
Seven
comes
is
with
powerful.
pain.
Yes, yeah.
My pain constructively, you know, I'm using my tears and my hurt and my anger constructively. You know, I could be a ball on the sofa. You know, I'm staying on somebody's sofa. I mean, I don't even have anywhere to live right now because they've taken my whole life away from me. These people, for the last 14 years, they've terrorized me wherever I live. You know, to know, leave me alone. Let me live my life. You leave me alone. Stay out of my life. Stay out of my family's life. Stay out of my friend's life. Just leave us alone. Let me live my life. Go in your own hell. Stay in your own hell where you are. Away with killing innocent people. You will not. You will not. And your lies, we don't want your lies. We don't want your public inquiry. We don't want your Michael Mansfields. We do not want your Moorbeek. We do not want any of it. I do not want it. And I've spoken to many, many other residents. Now there's something that's happening, and I'm concerned about my family members because I haven't been able to contact some of them, like the brothers and sisters of Marjorie. I haven't been able to. I've spoken to them and they were in shock because they haven't seen what I've seen. In contact with a lot of them. So as a targeted individual, you become isolated from family, from friends. So many of these people I've not seen for many years. And it's tragedies that is when you see each other. You know, this is why I've said to people, get to know your own tribe. Get to know your blood relatives. Find out who they are. You know, a lot of us come from huge families and we don't see each other, you know.
Yeah.
So unfortunately, you know, this is a situation where I find myself with having to speak to family members I haven't spoken to. Now, I'm concerned because we know that they're paying off family members to silence them.
Yeah.
And then they're separating people. So I'm concerned about my family members, that how they would try to marginalize, to separate us from each other so that they can keep this covered up, you know. So I'm very concerned. And I say to the families out there, do not accept their money. If they come to you offering silence payments, do not accept it, because we are going to bring justice.
Yes, exactly. And I mean,
my money.
You
Sorry,
put that
go ahead.
beautifully. Because that's what it is. It's silence payments. And all the people around us who are consenting to the targeting are taking silence payments of
Absolutely.
some kind, whether it's a payment of protection or a payment in cash, or a payment in kind, like a new
Yes.
car or something like that, or just the
Yes.
protection of the mafia, you know?
Yes. Yes.
So it's still a silence payment. So I think
Yes.
those words that you use are powerful. So we do
Yes.
need to get that message across to people. Stop taking silence payments and go after justice instead. Because
Justice.
justice and truth
Yeah.
are on our side.
Yes, absolutely, Ramola. You know, absolutely. Hush money, trick money. There's money, hush money, money that silences people. There's trick money that they'll trick you into believing that they'll give you this money today, but you could find yourself being killed. And
Yes.
this is the perpetrators. You perpetrators that are out there, you're putting yourself in danger when you take these people's money. They'll trick you to make you
Yes.
believe, yeah, we'll pay you this money today, but you know too much. So they will kill you. They will kill you. There's many people that are perps that get killed.
Yes. Yeah. And you know, there's no loyalty among perps. They're ready to throw each other under the bus any moment. So they're
Absolutely.
not
And we
going to
say,
really protect you. And in
absolutely.
fact, and what you
So,
said earlier, yeah, what you said earlier, Seven, it rings true and rings very powerfully. And I think it's such a profound note on which to close the segment, because what you
okay.
really gave us was sort of a rousing battle cry, a call to action, calling to everybody who is watching this simply to wake up their own sense of humanity and recognize that if we don't speak out for each other, for our own brothers and sisters, for our children and for our grandchildren, you know, what happened there with Grenfell Tower is something that we can look forward to. That is what is in store for the rest of us on a
Absolutely.
larger and larger scale. So this is the moment in which we need to act. We need to remember those people, those children, those young families, those children. You know, Rania Ibrahim, who sent out that Facebook call when she was right
Yes.
in the middle of it, going up to the
Yes.
23rd floor, right up to the terrace with her children, watching the
Yes.
inferno, knowing she's going to die, and
Yes.
praying.
And that friend that was supposed to be staying with her in that tower at that very time, it's only by a twist of fate that she didn't make it, because she would have been killed as well. You
Yeah.
know, so exactly what you're saying. And this is why I ask people to like the video, share the video, report on this.
Yes.
It's an important issue. It affects everybody. If you don't think it affects you, watch the burning of those towers, watch those people inside it, and tell yourself that could be you next. That could be you.
Mm-hmm.
Do not take money under those circumstances. Let us shut down this crime ring, bring them to justice. The important point is that I've already brought them to justice,
Mm-hmm.
and I won't. They were supposed to be in prison 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
10 years ago, these same king ringleaders were supposed to be behind bars.
Yes.
And
Mm-hmm.
we just need the publicity to let people know that. Can you
Absolutely.
imagine?
We need more
Had,
people coming forward to cover these stories, to cover the story of Grenfell Tower, and also
you
to
know,
cover your story, because what your story brings out is the actual infamy of this crime ring, who is still
absolutely
running, who is still at large and running
right,
loose, running amok among us,
right,
engaging in incredible crimes like this. And this is a
absolutely,
crime. And I think what you bring to the table is a clear understanding that Grenfell Tower was not an accident, was not incompetence, was not negligence, but it was an act of crime. It was an act of deliberate intentionality and deliberate crime, to which a lot of money is attached.
right.
And you know, so we need to publicize that, and I hope going forward that more people will come up and, you know, start covering this. I certainly will do a story on this, Seven,
Thank you.
after this video, just to present this video, the conversation that we've had, and everything that you have brought forth, so that it's not lost, and it will be out there in both print form and in video form.
Thank you so much, Ramola. I really, really thank you so much for this opportunity to be able to share, and for hearing me, giving me to speak about this, you know.
Absolutely, we need your voice. You have a powerful voice.
Thank you very much, Ramola. Like you said, it was intentional. It was mass murder. It was genocide, because it's hundreds of people. They're not even giving these people the right to be identified as dead. That's how evil this is. There's hundreds of people that they know that they've killed. They can identify them by their mobile phone records. It's not just the electoral risk or the council tax, how you identify. Most people, if not all people, have an internet or a phone line of some description.
Yes.
Some, you know, they can find out from those things alone. It wouldn't take a half a day to find out who the people in those buildings were.
No, it's
They
very
know,
clear they're concealing a great deal of information at this point in time. Right.
and it's a drip by drip effect. They're giving 80 people, then they'll put another 2 on next year and another 2 on until they get to the hundreds of people that have been killed in that building. And they have a right to be buried. They have a right to be, you know, and also they have a right known as, it was a terrorist attack. This should be treated with anti-terrorist laws. That's why they brought in the 9/11 team, because it's a terrorist attack. They're subliminally telling you that. They know it's a terrorist attack, but they're not verbalizing it, but they're showing it to you in their actions. And so this was a terrorist attack. It was a panic terrorist attack, just like 7/7 was a terrorist attack. Charlie Hebdo was a terrorist attack. But it was a false flag engineered by themselves. It's being engineered. All of them are being engineered by the same satanic crime ring that we call Seven Gate. Okay? And that's who's behind Grenfell Tower. Innocent people, children. And so it is my prayer. It is my deepest, 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 deepest prayer today that people who are watching this forward and say, I'm going to report on this, I'm going to speak about it. Even if you have 2 followers on your YouTube channel or on your Facebook page or on your Twitter page, I'm asking for people to not just watch this video and just turn it off and go off to other things, to make this a priority, to talk about it. Talk about the Seven Gate crime ring. Talk about the fact that Grenfell was mass murder and was a satanic terrorist attack. And it's important to recognize that it was satanic, because that's the problem that we have with Satanism. So on that
and
note,
it's going to
go ahead. On what was you going to say in closing?
It's going to take all of us. It's going to take a lot of us. It's going to take all of us to combat that kind of deep, deep Satanism. Yes.
So I thank you, Ramola, and also happy birthday. It was your Earth Day.
That was yesterday, but I love the way you say it, Earth Day. I love Earth Day. So, yes, thank you. I'm going to start calling it my Earth Day from now on. Not today, but yesterday.
Yes, but you know, just quickly, before we cut off the camera, that I say Earth Day because birthdays to do with the birth certificates, to do with the straw man.
Oh, right, the straw man.
Death Day, etc. So we now don't call it birthday anymore. We call it Earth Day. So it's the time that you came to Earth. So we call it Earth Day. So,
yes, I do love that. Yes.
So much. I'm so grateful. And thank you to everybody out there. Condolences again to all the families, my family, all the families who are still
deepest sympathy to everyone.
Don't know their family members, whether they perished or not, and unable to bury their dead ones, the deceased, and also to all the people who have been working selflessly from their own pockets and their own. I say thank you to you, you know. I say thank you to everybody, you know. And I pray that we can, you know, work together quickly to turn this around. Quickly, because we don't have.
Yes, I hope so. I hope so. And, you know, I think, you know, you definitely have a space on this show, and we'll continue talking and working together and helping get your story out and helping get your message out so that hopefully, you know, we can make something of an impact together and make this happen.
Yes.
So I thank you so much. Absolutely. I thank you so much again, Seven, for coming forward and for spending all this time and doing this close analysis and really laying out for the world exactly what has gone on and gone down at Grenfell. And,
Thank
we'll pick up the story again very soon. I thank everybody for watching. Have a great night. Seven, if you stay on for just a couple minutes, I'll talk to you for a couple more minutes before we close, after I switch off the broadcast. Okay?
you. Okay.
So,
Thank you. Peace to everybody.
thanks, everyone. Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Bye.